Hey guys, this is Crab Hunter, and welcome back to World of Tanks. Woo! And welcome to patch 9.2 test server. Huzzah! Yes, in today's episode we'll be on the 9.2 test server, which you know what that means. It's going to be a 2-episode gig with me talking about stuff in the first episode, and in the second episode we get out and get some violence done. So going into this patch, first of all, you'll be happy to note there's a lot more in it than the last one. And another thing that you'll probably spot, the more experienced of you I reckon will spot faster, is the fact that this patch to me seems more like a nerf/buff patch. I mean, obviously there is the usual upgrades to certain maps, texturing wise, also optimization for a number of things, little fixes here and there, of which if you are absolutely determined to find out every last detail, I will put up a link in the description of this video. One thing I'd like to note is that this is the first iteration of the test server, so some things are like maybe subject to change, but generally speaking, this might be what we're looking at, so just that's a little disclaimer I'll put there as well. But yeah, this patch to me seems quite buffy/nerfy, and some of the changes that they've made to some of the vehicles I'm interested in. Some are like, well, I'm not surprised to see that kind of buff or nerf sort of deal, but at the same time they've also buffed a number of other vehicles which I have to say are, oh, okay, this is interesting. Certainly might even the odds and perhaps even give more people a reason to go for something, who knows. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. Right, well, what's the first thing that you guys will notice upon entering into patch 9.2 live? Well, if you haven't noticed it before, there's this massive new tab called Clan or Stronghold. Now, unfortunately, as I'm not really a clan person, well, not a leader of a clan, if you will, I can't really do anything to give you a visual description, but what I can tell you is that this new Strongholds thing is another way for clans to be able to gain strength and to gain resources. It's kind of, if you will, it's a bit like one of those online town building sort of games. You get a slot, like an area, and as you progress, as your clan progresses and as you do more as a clan, you gain resources. I mean, it says here you've got advantages in battle, upgrade, reserves, all that kind of thing, which generally allows and helps your team to become an even better team, just generally it adds up and makes your clan even more dominating. Now, for all you clan leaders out there, this is probably a great opportunity to maybe add some extra strength to your clan. Maybe it can give you the chance to look awesome in front of other clans. I'm afraid I'm not a leader of a clan, so I can't really show you, but I will show you that there is now a new tab. So what will probably happen is maybe in 9.2 this may still be here, or you will have the option to do it in the thing. But generally speaking, the fortress is the clan Strongholds option allows you to create a clan fortress of your very own with fortifications, like in a sense a real life clan, well, like in a sense like a force would be. So that's new. So what else is new in the patch 9.2? Well, there's been a bit of a change, obviously, to some of the textures of some of the vehicles in game. Now, while it doesn't say they've been made into a HD quality, in the developers section, they've stated that a number of vehicles have had their armor changed to put them more in line with their historical counterparts. So I don't think they've actually nerfed or buffed any of the armor of the vehicle. I think this is more of an aesthetical thing. Move my mic a bit there. There you go. So what this means is just that the tanks look slightly more realistic to their counterparts. Now, I've stuck my quality on high, which actually is lasting surprisingly well in this, but whatever. So let's have a look at the first vehicle to get these changes, the Stug. Of course, I am probably going to lag out a bit more than usual because of this, and instantly you can notice the amount of dots
he's gone from a normal tank to Freckleface. I can't call him any more than Freckleface. The L70 with a rifled barrel. But yeah, this looks really cool. Freckleface, but you know, looks cool. So they've added a couple of textures. You can tell the difference between the tracks and everything, which looks cool. But yeah, you can see the bolts are crazy. I can't believe how many there are. They're even little baby. Well, there's a dents, obviously, but you can see even the damage marks look quite impressive. So that's pretty awesome, and it is in line with historical accuracy. How, you may ask, Crampunter? Well, I've been on a Stug, so yeah. So yes, that's pretty cool. I'm not entirely sure why they would focus completely on the Stug, but it's cool. Now, unsurprisingly, they've changed more of the Russians' vehicles to have HD tech, or not HD, armor, like realistic like armor. The next vehicle in line is this thing, the SU-100, which looks pretty badass. I will not deny. Rifling. Very nice indeed. The bolts are certainly more noticeable. The smooth line textures or the Russian design is pretty awesome. It just looks so much cooler. I mean, doing what I can to hopefully display the best of this thing. I don't know why, but some of these bolt things look really awesome, and it always looks around the rear as well. You've got the grills there. You've got the nipple section still there. I don't know why the Russians did not just look up when they or look down when they were designing this. But yeah, it looks pretty awesome. Pretty awesome indeed. Let's go have a look at the IS. Ooh, hello. Ooh, rifling. Check it out, y'all. Ah, okay. I've just noticed something. First of all, this frontal section. Notice how much of an angle has now been lost. Like, this is kind of almost what it was a number of patches ago. And I suppose it's a kind of good news, bad news situation for IS drivers. The good news, of course, is that from the front, you now have more of it's acting slightly more like it's tiny bit like an IS3, with these two extremities on the right and left being prevalently now higher. The bad news is you've got a much bigger target area around the driver's hatch, and to make matters worse, you've got this section to the left and to the right of the vehicle, which could highlight, you know, when you're going around corners, she may end up getting, you know, higher chances of penetration on both the left and right hand sides of the driver's room. So I wouldn't say that's, I mean, it's like I said, it's good news, bad news. I don't know how they're going to implement this, whether that means that more ISs will die, but I reckon that will perhaps cause a bit of aggro with some of the IS drivers, because beforehand this was a lot more slanted, whereas now it's not. Oh dear. And the final vehicle to receive some updates in texturing is the Churchill Mark I, and oh my. Ooh. You see, I only saw it in medium to low quality graphics, so this is the first time I'm seeing it as well, but ooh, hello. Still don't know why you're not hiding the tracks on the top, but whatever. That's pretty awesome. That looks pretty sick, I will say. No armored defensive, no abilities to defend yourself, angling wise, but doesn't matter. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. Not HD textures, but better textures than before, for sure. So, apart from having lovely new nooks, what is the actual buffs of the latest patch, and what are the nerfs? Well, let's go on to the buffs first. And this one actually also involves the Stug. So, apart from receiving lots more freckles and looking a little bit better than wear, the Stug actually has been, I suppose it could be a case of 50-50. I guess I'm going to call it a buff because of the suspension upgrade, but I might also call it a buff nerf. What this basically has happened is they've changed the weight of the Stug originally from being 12 tons to being 15 tons. But they've also buffed how much suspension it will be as well for this thing. So they've gone from 20 something to 25,000 to 25 tons. I'd say 25,000 kilograms. So, although this isn't, although it doesn't seem to state that there is a difference in performance, what this may mean is that the Stug may be slightly more sluggish in combat. I hope it isn't, but it might be slightly sluggish in combat. Of course, I will check it out, and I will definitely have a look-see. If I can't get a game in the... Well, if I can't get a game in this test server, then I will definitely have a look-see when we get onto the live server to see whether this vehicle is a little more sluggish. So, it's not a big buff slash nerf, but it's certainly something. But, going on to proper buffs now, this vehicle, the VK 4502P Ostif B. She is part of the mouse line. If we're on the right nation. She is on the mouse line. You know, either the choice of you have the choice when you get on the Panzer IV, or just the Panzer IV actually, of either going to the VK 3001P up towards the mouse tank, or like many more people, you'll have gone down the VK line to get to the E100. Well, they've changed how the VK 4502P was, because it used to be very bad, its armor was quite terrible, and now, you know, it couldn't do anything. Well, now what they've done is they've upgraded the frontal hull armor to 200 millimeters, and that's 200 millimeters on the frontal upper glacis and the lower glacis. And to add insult to injury, this section of armor has gone from 40 to 60 millimeters thick. So this vehicle now should present a much, you know, bigger problem and threat to the opposing team in games, which is pretty awesome. I will say it's nice to see that they're looking at Germany and not thinking, the fascists deserve everything they get, sort of thing. So that's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome as well. Another buff, which I'm going to kind of go in order here, is to do with the Leopard line. Now, there is a tiny little buff to the Auflokaren Panzer, or what I say the fuck all Panther, has actually received a buff to its Wunderwaffe 725, as now its reload time has been decreased, so now you can fire even more rounds a minute from this, though I'm never going near this vehicle, so it doesn't matter. What does matter is this vehicle, the Indian Panzer, the current vehicle in my live server that I'm currently grinding on. What in 9.2, they will actually decrease the reload time for the Border Cannone, and also they've reduced the aiming time as well. This used to be 2.9, now it's 2.7. I love you! Yes, they've given Germany a little bit of a better buff, and it doesn't stop there. No, no, no. The Border Cannone also receives a reload increase, a decrease, I think, for this one. I believe so. Yes, I believe it is. So either it's the aiming time or the reload time has been decreased, so this gun will be able to fire faster and hit its targets more effectively. But then they've changed the statistics on this, so more rounds a minute can go off and better accuracy, or better aiming time, I should state. So they're looking pretty awesome. Looking forward to driving the Leopard PTA. And then finally, the last up buff to this line, the Leopard 1 has received a reload rate of fire increase. So the reload time for this thing is even less. With a 1.9 aiming time, 0.3 accuracy, and faster rate of fire. I really, really, really want this tank now. Wargaming, you are beautiful some days, and I'm glad I'm now playing you more often. I will say, this buff couldn't have come at a better time. I was kind of wondering, it's weird, I was kind of wondering, should I really consider going down this Leopard line? It doesn't really seem like you get too much of a benefit, considering that the Leopard PTA is 172,000 research points. But now they've given me a bit of a buff when it comes to firing, I couldn't give a shit now. I'm like, right, I'm going in. I'm going to definitely keep on with this grind. So that's a very awesome benefit to have. The only downside, of course, is that when I get this, I'll have to research 60-odd thousand to get the proper gun. But it doesn't matter. It's still awesome. So, after seeing some pretty impressive buffs to Germany, a fair amount of you will probably be thinking, okay, Crap Hunter, where's the buffs to Russia? Well, comrades, you cannot expect the fascista to get all of the updates. German tanks with good upgrades and no Russian upgrades? What are you on about? Apologies for the bad Russian accent, but yes, there have been some buffs to the Russian tech tree. Only these ones are kind of the same line. These updates are focused on the SU-101 line. Now, for those who don't play World of Tanks, the Russians get two tech trees, or two lines for their tank destroyer tech trees. These can be summed up in easy ways. This line, the SU-10, well, the ISU line, we call it, sheer power. Just one shot, one kill. That's generally the aim of the game with these vehicles. It's literally, I don't care, you're dead. Whereas this one is more accurate, faster, rapid fire, on the move, mobile tank destroyers. And before, this line used to be immensely popular. And I say used to be because now what they've done is they have buffed, not majorly, surprisingly, a number of assets within this whole line to make this more interesting to go down. Starting with the SU-100M1, which is the reload time for this gun has been decreased. So instead of it being like 6 seconds, it's now something like 5.9 or 6 points. So it's got a faster reload. The SU-101 with its top gun, I can't remember where it was, this or this, probably this. It's given an extra 1 meter's worth of accuracy at 100 meters, and its rate of fire has gone up, so you have more accurate, better aiming. The SU-122-54, same deal, the end gun, better accuracy, higher rate of fire. And then finally, this big beast of a thing, which I do have in the garage, its reload has been decreased. Sorry, rate of fire increased. There we go. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty. I mean, I'm not a big. It's unsurprising that the Russians would give themselves a buff. Well, to be honest with you, looking at it, it's not really a major buff. It's not something that says, oh, this is, clearly Russian bias, because it's kind of looking at it from, well, okay, we can fire slightly faster, ergo, more and more people would perhaps enjoy this line more. Good God, this is actually balancing. This isn't real. Pinch me. Ow. No, it's real. Yeah, so it's cool. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big, I don't drive Russian tanks, so I don't know how necessary this will be, or how desperate these guys who drive these vehicles will make it. But I reckon it will be enough that maybe a few more people may try it. Who knows? Now that you've seen some of the buffs, let's have a look at some of the nerfs. And the nerfs are certainly, well, they're not big-ish nerfs. They may affect how some players go up certain lines now. The first few vehicles to be nerfed is the Waffenträger line, going from the Ruhmetall Borsig all the way to the E100. Now I'll go from the low to the high tiers, because the high tiers to some might be controversial. For the Ruhmetall Borsig Waffenträger, the reload time for the 128mm cannoner, I believe, has been increased, so this thing won't be able to fire as fast. While I am annoyed at it, I can also kind of understand why they would do this. I mean, the Borsig Waffenträger, while you can deal with it in 1 or 2 shots with high explosive, is a mighty pain in the arse to deal with because it's very small and can do a lot of damage. So I suppose having the reload time increase is a good method to try and stop people from constantly going to it. The next tank that's been nerfed is this thing, the Waffenträger Aufsprung Panzer IV. The top gun on this vehicle, I believe either this one and this one, I think, have had their soft stats affected, which basically means whenever you have a soft stat affected in some vehicles, it means that whenever you turn the turret, look around, or even drive forward, something will affect it. So the accuracy of these things has been reduced, so it's less accurate than it was before. It might take you a few extra milliseconds to get on target. And of course the reload has been increased, so these things cannot fire as fast as they used to. Finally, the Waffenträger Ausführung E100. Now what they've done with this vehicle is they've nerfed this gun. Once again, soft stats have been affected, but the primary thing that they've done with this, or at least the one thing you'll notice instantly, is they've taken one shell away from the 128mm magazine, which I imagine a fair amount of players will be quite pissed off with. But they have compensated you 8 extra seconds. They've shaved 8 seconds of reload time to compensate for this. So while it is a nerf to a certain extent, and I imagine a fair amount of Borsig Waffenträgers and E100 WTE 100 drivers will be pissed off as hell, I don't really see this as a big nerf. More of a sort of let's make it a little easier to take these things down nerf. And and personally, I don't really think the Waffenträger E100 is overpowered anyway. I mean, some would argue the magazine is too, it's overpowered or whatever, but I think it's more, you just got to aim for the turret. I know it sounds a bit, it's probably easy to say and hard to do, but I kind of look at this thing like a KV-1S. You've got a massive weak point on the front, any high explosive from either artillery or or any kind of derp gun, it'll do shit tons of damage. In fact, I have done tons of damage. When I was grinding my ISU 152, I fired a derp shot into this thing, zapped half his health. So it's possible to kill these things really quickly. But considering wargaming, they probably needed to nerf this for whatever reason. But I don't really think this thing's overpowered. So now this next vehicle that I'm going to talk about has been nerfed quite substantially, and I think it's good that they've done it, but not if you're driving it. I'm actually talking about one very famous vehicle, the Death Star. The Death Star has only had one feature of this thing nerfed, but nerfed probably enough that some people will now give up their quest to get it. The premium HESH ammo. HESH basically stands for high explosive. Oh god, what is it called? Is it I can't see. High explosive, of course. Well, the HESH ammunition acts kind of like high explosive anti-tank. Well, it works in a sense that it hits the target, and the fire and the explosive is pushed through, causing untold amounts of destruction. What they've done is they've nerfed it from 275 to 230. Ouch. So what this means now is that this vehicle can no longer, unless you're close up, one-shot many vehicles. This thing can still one-shot vehicles, but its penetration is now worse than the standard shell of an E75. So in tier 10 games, this thing is definitely going to start struggling now, without a doubt. This thing is going to be crying. And because this thing hasn't really got any decent armor, like it's got okay-ish armor, but not great armor, this means that most Death Star drivers will probably, I don't know, they may not even want to play this thing because they find that the HESH ammo is the only thing that works. I mean, that said, the standard ammunition looks perfectly okay to me, but, some people love premium, and HESH now no longer as effective as it used to be. That's a big change. They have nerfed that one quite to buggery, so ouch to all you Death Star players. But then again, screw you, you Death Star players. Now you got to share the game and use the standard ammo like the rest of us, and yeah. So, the last thing I'd like to talk to you guys about this episode is a number of awards that have been placed into this game. English will work for me one day, I know it. These are as follows for team battles. So, if you're not a team battles person, sorry, but I'm mentioning it anyway. These new ranks are, if I can remember, Guerrilla, Premature Detonation, Brute Force, Pyromaniac, Sentinel, Infiltrator, and Will to Win Spirit. Now, I can't exactly tell the difference between the new one, as I haven't really been checking out my honorary ranks, but a fair amount of these look pretty new to me, and as I haven't earned any of them previously, I can't say which ones are the really new ones. But all of these culminate to basically stating how many ammo racks do you have in your team session, how many times have you done something. It just goes to say, yo, I've played this game for a bit and I've had a lucky few shots. So, hoorah to that one. But yeah, that's about it for this talky side of the series. So thank you very much for watching. In the next episode, I will be going out with a number of vehicles and having violent times with them, seeing if they're as effective or worse than before, with the buffs and the nerfs, and we'll see how things fare from there. As I said earlier in the video, or I think even the beginning of the video, I will put a link to the description for the latest soft stats of the patch, though I warn you, this will be, because of this is a test server, some things are liable to change, so they may not be definitely there by the time they reach in, so just to warn you on that one. But yeah, thank you very much for this, guys. If you like this kind of content, do feel free to let me know in the comment section down below, clicking on the like button, and of course subscribing to the channel. If you yourself are a YouTuber, a World of Tanks player, or a YouTuber who does World of Tanks, if there's anything I could do to improve my overall commentary, some things I say a bit too much or I don't give enough detail to, do feel free to let me know in the comment section down below as well. And I will do what I can to improve the next video and make it even more awesome. But that's about it this one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. This is Crap Hunter, signing out.